This is part 2, the conclusion of Sacred Spaces.
G'day, folks. Welcome to the Binaural Cafe, where we explore an amazing variety of sounds captured in the wildest places and spaces. And we do it all in immersive sound for earphones. The special on the board today is, Sacred Spaces.
And it just sounds so delicate and detailed, complex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really
really complex,
beautiful sound. Yeah, and when you close your eyes listening, I didn't mention it, but you can hear the height. You know, once again, it's over your head in the binaural sound field.
Right.
Within this, the San Florian Basilica, there is among these beautiful the walls and rooms of this once royal palace. That was built and lived in by the Habsburgers. So it's very, you could just smell and see and taste the wealth that had existed there. And one of the rooms really sets this off, and it's called the Marble Hall. And the room is, obviously lots of marble, and a big marble hall will have lots of reverb, yeah. And it's a stunning sound, but the problem is it's not isolated from the outside world. So again, a car drives by, someone's mowing the lawn, it's gonna just really carry on into this 7 to 8 second reverberant space. And I mentioned the boys choir, and there are fantastic classical musicians that are all connected to this place, and they have performances there, and they do have performances within that space that are music designed for long reverb. Mm-hmm. But they can never record it really successfully because there's always something that's going to, a chair moves and it moves for 7 seconds, Right. And so what I did is I went in there and captured an impulse response, a digital fingerprint, so that I could demonstrate what it would sound like. Shall we transport ourselves from the Binaural Cafe into the Marble Hall of San Florian?
Sounds marvelous.
I think I need a coffee. Where's that waitress?
Oh, she's just down the Marble Hall.
If you need coffee now, Paul, you may not get it, but you may get a flask of wine.
Your laugh sounds particularly evil when you laugh in this hall.
Very Habsburger-like. Your jaw seems to be
slack.
Anyway, this space is hands down one of my favorite spaces.
It's very lush is the word. It's just full.
Unlike St. Martin's Church, the marble helps to ensure that more of the frequencies remain alive.
I'm trying to imagine any kind of presentation or performance or anything going on in a room like this, especially back in the day.
Yeah. And it would have been filled with tables for feasts.
Yeah.
And so anybody performing in there for dinner gatherings would have less reverb to deal with because you'd have a lot of people in there.
Still be quite a bit.
It still would be quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the beauty is, it does make for a wonderful reverb for the right kind of music.
Right. Interesting.
And I want to demonstrate that for you now. Because, as you guys may remember, the album that we're working on, the Full Circle album, all in binaural, we recently here at Todd Hooge Studio, we recorded Victoria Baroque, a Baroque ensemble, and that was to support a vocal performance I had recorded of Alois Mühlbacher. And Alois was the star singer of the St. Florian Boys Choir. And some of these young men, these boys, when they go through puberty and they grow up, they're able to maintain that soprano range and become countertenors. And Alois is one of those, and he's becoming very well known across Europe and elsewhere. He's
Interesting.
fantastic. And so I want to play you a recording where the ensemble we recorded is going into the basilica itself, the reverb of the chapel of this basilica, which is a nice reverb, not nearly as lush and dramatic. But Alois's voice is being sent into the marble hall to demonstrate what this would sound like. And this is an unfinished work. We still have more instruments to add, and it's part of a longer song, but we can get a sampling of what that would sound like. How's that?
That's heavy.
Wow, beautiful.
That is beautiful. I got to thank you guys because you guys helped make that recording
Yeah.
possible.
Can't wait to hear the full mix when it's done.
It's going to be amazing. And what was really a thrill, when I recorded Alois, we recorded him in Schloss Weinberg, which is a castle, not actually in the basilica. This castle is a classic, old, beautiful castle, and it happens to have a recording studio in it with a control room, lots of great gear. But the recording room is under the vaulted, ceilings of this old castle. So we recorded him in there in binaural, and after we did the recording, immediately in the control room, we patched him to the Marble Hall impulse response reverb because he knows that hall. He's performed in there many times, and I was able to play for him what it would sound like if he was singing in there.
Right.
It blew his mind. I mean, he was just
Cool.
almost brought to tears to listen to the accuracy because he knows that hall so well. But you could never perform and record in there as cleanly as we're able to do
Because
with
he's
this.
using this technology.
Well,
right?
sure, yeah. It's a good example of the advantage of capturing these spaces and how you can mix them in with the performances.
Yeah, that's
Put
right.
them there.
That's right.
And you couldn't do it physically on site.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you can actually do things that you wish you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now if we head south, more or less, from St. Florian, we would come into the Steyr area. And there is a really awesome Gothic, neo-Gothic. It was rebuilt not too long ago due to a fire, but it's essentially a Gothic church. So it's very, if you can imagine gargoyles and that kind of haunted, spooky kind of architecture, that Gothic invokes that. It's sparse, usually tall and looming and kind of really imposes the concept of the fear of God
Right.
into you. And this Stiftkirche, this big, beautiful church in this Gothic style of Admont, obviously because it's so tall and vast and with this stark stone building material, has a pretty remarkable reverb.
Oh,
Anybody want to take the first step?
it's like extra lush.
Yeah. Super lush. It's nice. It's got a nice bite in the beginning, and then a sweet, kind of a tame aftertaste.
Kind of notes of
Blueberry.
blueberry.
Yeah.
Notes of blueberry. Stone, granite blueberries.
Yeah.
Blueberries made of granite.
It's nice. How long is the reverb in this case? Shorter than the last
Oh, shorter than the Marble Hall.
4 or 5 seconds, maybe?
Yeah. There's one. About five, yeah. 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a really stunning space. And I've got something special to share with you.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
All right, let's hear it.
I mentioned the organ at St. Florian. Well, there's a lovely woman, Schwester Freiberg, I think her name is, and she's this nun, and every time I've been there a couple of times, and we've gotten to know the folks that manage Stift Admont fairly well. So she comes. She's very old, and she's always wearing her habit, wearing her traditional habit, and this iron ring. I kid you not, with these iron keys hanging off it.
Right.
And she shows up and she gives us this iron ring. It's like I just go back in time, It's like taking a position to record the ring of keys. And so we get this whole thing and she lets us lock up when we're done.
Wow.
Well, guess what I do with that iron ring of keys? I access the organ loft, man, and fire that thing up. And so when nobody's around, just myself and my buddy Siggy, who helps me do a lot of this, play the organ. And on my last trip there, I recorded a performance in that space, in the actual space. So this is not using an impulse response.
This is for real.
This is a binaural recording of the organ of Stift Admont.
Okay.
So to explain a bit about how organs work, there's different pipes, and they range from fluty soft to really powerful and bombastic. And so what I'll do is switch through those settings that you adjust when you begin to play a pipe organ like this. Give you a sense of the diversity and the power of this instrument. Hot smoking pajamas. If that.
I'm so glad you broke into that room.
Thank you, Schwester Freiberg. It was. I mean, to play an instrument like that is just mind blowing. To have access with your fingertips to that kind of power.
How many pipes?
I'm not sure the exact number of pipes. I did know this before and might rediscover it, but it's well over 10,000 pipes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of pipes.
Really?
It's a really beautiful, dramatic thing. And I remember when I was playing it, when you let go like that, you really hang on to those not just the keys that you're playing with your hands, but this thing you have to get in order to get the bass, you have to play with your feet.
Okay.
I don't do that, and I admire concert organists for their ability to crawl around that beast.
Yeah.
But so I do my best, which is why I play slower. But man, when you lean into those low notes like that with your left foot, and you're playing just a mass of keys, when you let off, it's going to blast and bellow out into the hall. Mm-hmm. And after I recorded that, I turned around and my mother was sitting there up in the loft listening. She'd come along this last time, and she had tears in her eyes because she felt I was performing her requiem.
Oh boy! Oh,
wow. And of course, she's not with us anymore. She passed away about a year ago. Yeah. So every time I listen to that recording, I remember that, and I think, that's a pretty cool requiem. Actually, better to play that for someone before they pass.
Sure, they get to hear it.
They get to hear it. And on that note, that somber note of passing. As you know, Paul, you wrote a song called I'm Gonna Pray, and we're on this topic of sacred spaces. And we end our episodes with a song from the new album, Full Circle, all of it being binaural. And the song I'm Gonna Pray, do you want to introduce that?
Well, I'm Gonna Pray is a song inspired by new life and by a father holding his child and thinking about the world that he's bringing the child into. And this particular production that you produced of that song was dedicated to the end of life for a really good friend of ours who we toured with, and he played bass on this album and he sang one of the verses, Mr. Paul Stevens.
It was another situation like playing my mother's requiem for her before she unknowingly before she passed.
Right, that's right.
But in this case, we knew what we were doing because Paul was diagnosed with a fast-acting cancer, and so we arranged with Paul to do one last song.
Yeah.
And so he knew, as every lifelong musician friend joined to add to the project, their musical contributions, and Todd, your amazing engineering. It was a way for people to say goodbye, and Paul was able to be in the studio for the final mix and listen to it in its completed form. Yeah. And he passed away 10 days later. Yeah. And so once again, it was a very sacred thing. And so I thought it was suitable to end this episode with the song for Paul Stevens. Yeah. This is a Paul Gatien song, I'm Gonna Pray.
Right on. Here's to Paul.
I'm gonna pray that you'll never have to be a soldier. Pray that you'll never know war. I'm gonna pray for your health, for no ill to occur. Pray you'll never want for more. I'm gonna pray.
I'm gonna pray every night before I go to bed. Gonna get down on my knees. I'm gonna pray for the love left unsaid, all the dreams swept out to sea. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray.
Hungry children crying, politicians lying, temperatures on the rise, economy's declining, every morning as I greet the day. Gonna get down on my knees. I'm gonna pray that we will find a way to end this insanity. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray.
We'd like to thank the government of Yukon for sponsoring in part this program and look forward to seeing you soon in the Binaural Cafe. I'm Matthew Lien.